Hey, what's up guys? Justin here with AmericanMuscle.com, and listen, if you're looking to emulate some of the same styling found on, in my opinion, one of the baddest Mustangs of all time, then the OE GT500 style spoiler shown here in matte black would be an awesome addition to your 2010 through 2014 Mustang. Now this particular option will combine a durable yet lightweight ABS plastic build while also incorporating that pre-painted stealthy matte black finish, all for right around that mid to high $100 price point, making this one of the most affordable spoilers in the category. All right, gang, so as we just mentioned, the inspiration behind this particular option is pretty obvious, right? This is modeled after the same exact spoiler used on the later S197 Shelby GT500s and does feature the same exact styling cues such as the subtle rake, in addition to the detail towards the back here. Now, unlike the factory Shelby, which does feature kind of like a gurney flap, if you will, back here, the OE styled option is just going to kind of incorporate that into the mold and paint match the entire thing here. So there's no adjustment or anything like that, but it certainly does mimic that same spoiler very, very closely. Now, in my opinion here, guys, again, I think this is one of the best looking spoilers on the S197 chassis. I had it on my 2014 Oxford White car and got a ton of compliments on it. And again, it's a really nice addition to the rear end without being too crazy or over the top. Now moving into construction and materials, and things are going to be pretty standard here in the land of aftermarket spoilers. This does include the pressure molded ABS plastic for the overall build here. And again, more importantly, it has been finished off in matte black, which I think will offer a nice color contrast to any color S197 out there, including the gloss black cars. Kind of nice to break up the gloss and matte look. I dig it, but honestly, you could always paint match this thing to your ride if you like. That is up to you. You would just have to take it to your local paint hookup for prep and ultimately paint. Now, if you haven't done so already, guys, feel free to read up on the numerous 4- and 5-star reviews here on this particular option. And while you're there, feel free to check out some of the customer submitted images to get a better sense of what that color contrast might look like on your own ride at home. Now quickly moving into our price point segment here, guys, and you'll find this option hovering at or around that mid to high $100 mark here, which does fall in line with other gloss or matte black inspired spoiler options here on the site. Now, if you did want to ultimately go with something color matched right out of the box, you can certainly find a few here on the site, but just know those will cost you a little bit more at the end of the day. That being said, if you did want something that's ready to install right out of the box, you don't mind the black color contrast here with your S197, this is ready to rock. It's going to look great right out of the box, and it will save you a trip to the paint shop. All right, now let's shift gears and move into the installation portion of our video, guys. Site's going to call this a solid 2 out of 3 wrenches on the difficulty meter, taking you a couple of hours to complete from start to finish. Now, this will vary a bit, of course, depending on whether or not you have a factory or aftermarket spoiler currently installed. If not, obviously you will encounter a little bit of drilling. However, if you do, this particular spoiler will reuse your factory holes. The hardest part, honestly, guys, will be removing the factory spoiler if installed and getting rid of all of that factory adhesive. So with all that being said, what do you need for the job? Well, if you do need to drill holes, well, obviously a drill will be very helpful. If not, well then simply using a heat gun, hair dryer, something like that to loosen up that factory adhesive, and then using a panel removal tool and a socket set to completely remove that stock spoiler is really all you need there. Now, to install your new GT500 option, simple socket set or screwdriver is really all you need to complete the job. So without further ado, let's toss it to an AM customer for a detailed walkthrough of the job.
So the first thing for the install on my 2012 Mustang, to put the spoiler on, create your own template, since it does not come with one. What I'm doing here, taking cardstock strips, punching a hole in the middle just to create your own template. From there, you do each one for the 4 different holes here on the spoiler that you're going to screw into the trunk of the car. Once you get that, you want to take some painter's tape and just line them up with each hole and tape them on there just so you have a reference when you put the template onto the car itself. Alright, for this next step, you're going to want to tape down the template to the car, just so you have reference points of when you're going to make the holes, because mine does not have a stock spoiler on it already. We're going to have to drill the holes on it. So do that, flip this over. And line it up to where we need. My reference point being the center of the car here with the light. You can measure on both sides as well to make sure that it is the same length on both sides. Move it left and right just to make sure you get it in place correctly. Alright, for this, mostly I'm just looking for 3/8 of an inch from either side, from the corner of the trunk lid to, it's hard to see, the very corner of the spoiler here, which is about 3/8 of an inch. And from there we just mark the center and then tape down the template. And you want to make sure the tape is tight enough that you can still lift the spoiler itself off and just leave the cardstock on there. Once you get everything taped down, then you can start peeling up the actual spoiler, so then all that's left is the template, and you'll just want to do that. I start on one edge here and kind of just put under. That way the template stays and the spoiler goes. Now we can just secure the template, putting on some more tape closer to the holes, so then it's more accurate when I have to screw in the holes to the actual spoiler. Here I'd suggest measuring the holes just to make sure one last time before we actually drill the same distance from both sides, just so it's easier than when the spoiler was on itself. Alright, now we'll go to the trunk itself, open it up, and now we are going to take off the trunk pins, these here, using a flathead screwdriver. Mine is small. But also the screws here, we'll just drop them into the trunk lid once we get them off. So unscrew these, just drop that right in. That off. Pop these. One. Four. That in the trunk. The nice thing about this spoiler is that the factory holes where the plugs are line up perfectly where the drill holes should go. So right through here, right in here, and the same on the other side. So you won't have to make any additional holes to the trunk itself. Alright, using a Phillips screwdriver, we're just gonna create some indents into the hood so that way when we drill, the drill bit does not slip. And we'll do that for each hole right in the middle so then it lines up with the template. And I'm doing the same on the two on the passenger side. To start the drilling, we're going to use a 1/8 drill bit just to start the holes and then go up an additional size once we're going to be able to put the screws into the trunk lid. Now we're going to use a 3/16 bit just to open up the holes more so then the screws can fit into it. Alright, now with the holes drilled, we can take off the template off the trunk and start to take off the tape and the template. That way we can clean up around the hole before we put on the spoiler itself. You can also see here that the holes that we drilled line up with where the factory made them. Now we'll put on the washers that go around each hole. That way there's a covering so that it doesn't mess up the spoiler itself or the car once you screw it in. These come with the kit, which is nice. So that way we don't have to worry, we'll just peel. That we could punch out the hole first. This goes right around that, right into place. At the same time, we could take this 3M tape and do the same around the borders. So that way it'll give a weatherproofing to the car. Press it down so it sticks, and then put it at the end so we can work up the side. After putting down a 3M tape, you can take off the other end. It is double-sided, which is nice, so then when you put the spoiler on itself, it'll stick and you can place the bolts in. Do that for each side. Comes right off. With the tape put down now we'll set down the spoiler into place with tape to check. Helps to have a flashlight to see where exactly the holes are, so that way we can screw it in. You push down a little with some pressure just to hold it in place, so that way you can screw it in. And once it is in, we will start with the middle first to place in the screws. Now that the two on the middle are in, can move towards the edges. I think it helps doing it by hand first just to have it in place so the screw doesn't fall through the middle. The middle one is already in. And move to the drill. And tighten the middle. Once that's done, you can start putting the trunk liner back in. The plugs on these. And now we'll put in the trunk liner. Tucking this back through. Last one.
So wrapping this one up here, gang, again, if you are looking to add some of that muscular GT500 styling to the rear end of your S197 at home, be sure to check out this affordable matte black option right here at AmericanMuscle.com.